Hello all. So today we'll be discussing about some more components of AWT package, some more classes that you can make use of while designing your own GUI application. So let's start with AWT list today. So this is the AWT list class. So it is, as you can see that in the class declaration, it is going to extend from the component class and it is going to implement two interfaces. One is item selectable and the other one is accessible. So why is it called item selectable interface? Because you are going to have list just that it is a combination of multiple items, and when you are going to deal with list you will be dealing with each of its individual items. So that is why you're going to use item selectable interface. Okay, so I'll show you a sample here. There is a list which has got 5 items, as you can see in this output window. Okay, so this is your list and there are 5 items from which one is selected. Okay, so let's see how to program the same. So this is it. You will have to import, as always you will have to import the AWT package. Then from there you will have to use a list, your own list class. You will have to use that. Then inside that you are going to associate a frame by creating a frame class object. Then you are creating a list. So as you can see, you are creating a list object which is termed L1. Okay, so your object reference variable for the list class object is L1, and you are going to say that the new list will contain 5 items. Okay, the new list will contain 5 items, and you are going to set the boundary. As always with any other component of the AWT, you are going to set the boundary of your list. So at the position indicated by 100 you will have a 75 width and 75 pixel height dimensioned uh, list. Okay, so we have used 5 inside the constructor, which means the list is able to hold 5 elements. So now what is to be done? You will have to add elements into the list. Okay, so you have add function here, add method here, which is used to add something. Okay, so you're going to add a label item1 into the L1 list object. So you are going to add item1 label into L1 object. Okay, label, it just means that it is a text or nothing else, not the AWT label which we have seen before. This is just the label that has to appear on the item. Okay, similarly for till item 5 you are going to add each item into the list. Now your list is ready. L1 is a list which has 5 items, item 1 to item 5. Now what you have to do, as always, you will have to add the list into your frame. Okay, and rest is just like the same. Inside the main method you will have to call the constructor. Okay, constructor to your class. So that is it. Now let's see how to incorporate action listener along with AWT list. Okay, so let's see. So here you can see that there are two lists here. Okay, there are two lists, and one is about the programming language, the other one is about the framework. Okay, so what can you see here? There are two lists and one button. So when it is a button you will have to use action listener. Okay, so what you're going to do is that the user has the freedom to select items from both lists, and when he press on the show button, it will when the button gets submitted, you will be displaying as user has selected the programming language as Java and the framework as Spring and Hibernate. Okay, so this is the total concept of the program. So let's see how to do that. So here, as you can see, you are creating a frame, you are creating a label. Okay, so it is a final label. Okay, that means its content cannot be altered. Then you are creating a button, you are setting the alignment of the label to be centralized to the frame. That is it. Then you are setting the boundary of your button. Then you are creating a final list. Okay, you are creating a final list L1 and here a final list L2, which means the contents are not alterable. Okay, it will appear. Now you are going to add the elements into L1 as well as you are going to add the elements into L2 after setting their respective boundaries. Okay, respective boundaries and where to appear. So that is done. So now you have two lists ready, and you have added them into the frame. You have added L1, you have added L2, you have added the label, and you have added the button. Now, what should be done when the button is being pressed? That is done here. So you can see here that an action listener is added along with the button, and the action to be performed is that you have to create a string object which is going to display something. Okay, so you're going to display it as the content of data will be programming language selected, that is your first string. Then it is going to be concatenated with whatever is being displayed by the get item method, which means what was selected by the user. Okay, so L1 dot get item will display what is the item that was selected. So when you are going to select something from a list, you will have to use the index. So how can you do that? Here you can see that there is a method called get selected index. Okay, so when the user goes to click on, say if the user is going to select C++, then obviously it will be having an index 1 or 2 based on the architecture. Okay, so when you are having the index value, that index value will be notated or returned by the get selected index method. Okay, so 2 will be returned by the get selected index method, so that will be taken to the get item method. So get item method is going to retrieve the item that has been stored in the index which is positioned by 2. Okay, so L1 dot get item at 2 will retrieve C++. So okay, so programming language selected C++. Your string is ready. Now what has to be done? So that is your first data. Now the second data. The second data is going to be appended as data is equal to data concatenated with frame, whatever be the content of data concatenated with framework selected. And what you have to get for the framework selected? You can have multiple selections, right? So you have to select for each item. So for string frame L2 dot get selected items. So for each iteration of the for loop, you will have to append the content of get selected item into the string data. Okay, is that clear? You will have to say, suppose if you are selecting two items, then you will be running the for loop across the list, and you will be finding out that two index positions are in the selected status. So those items which are stored inside that index position will be retrieved by this for loop, and that will be appended to data. Okay, so this is how it is going to work. So here you have selected created a string frame, and that is used here. Okay, so as just like in the previous example, you will create inside the main method, you will make a call to the constructor. So that is about list. I hope it is clear. So this is your output. Okay, then next is about menu item or menu, creating a menu using AWT. Okay, so let's see how to declare the menu item class. So the menu item class again is going to extend the menu component class, which is going to implement the accessible interface. Menu class again is going to extend the menu item class, and it is going to implement again menu container and accessible. So these are the class declarations. You don't have to actually bother about the class declarations and all. Let's go to the program. So here you can see, just see the window. Here you can see that there is a menu. Okay, so this is a drop down menu. So when you click on the menu tab, what happens? The drop down will appear, and inside that you can even have multiple sub menus. Okay, you can have items as well as sub menu, which is part of a menu. So here you can see this particular menu is having 3 items and 1 sub menu, and the sub menu will contain, when it is being clicked, it will open to a new drop down menu, and that will be taken as a sub menu. Okay, so let's see how to program this. So here you can see that in your, just like the previous example, you are going to create a frame using the frame class of object. Then you are labeling the frame as menu and menu item example so that it will appear here in the title. Okay, menu and menu item example. Now let's see, you are going to first create a menu bar. So that is the first thing to be done, because when you have to add a menu, it should be added on the menu bar. So first you have to create a menu bar. So this is your menu bar. You can see that this line, this window, this bar is the menu bar. Okay, so menu will be placed on the menu bar, items will be placed inside the menu. So that is how it has to be done. Okay, so menu bar is equal to, you're creating the menu bar. Then what is the next step? You're creating a menu class object. Okay, you're creating a menu class object, and you can see submenu is nothing but another menu. Okay, so submenu is also being created as a menu class object, but with the label submenu. Now what have you done? You have to add elements into the menu, right? So you are creating menu items, objects of menu item class from I1 to I5. Okay, menu item I1, because these are the items that has to be inserted into the menu, right? Okay, so you're going to do this. Now as you have seen in the output, item 4 and item 5 are part of the submenu. So what have you done? You have to first add item 4 and item 5 to the submenu by using the add method. Okay, you can see submenu dot add I4, submenu dot add I5. Then you are adding the submenu as part of the menu. Okay, so you are adding menu at I1, then I2, I3, I4, then sorry, I3 up to I3. I think I missed I1 here. So there is an option statement for I1 as well. So menu dot add I1, menu dot add I2, I3. Then you're going to add I4 and I5 to submenu, and then you are going to add submenu to the menu. Okay, so now your menu is ready. Now what you have to done? What is to be done in the next step? You have to do that. You have to add this menu to the menu bar. So mb dot add menu. MB is your menu bar. You are going to add menu to the menu bar. Now what have you done? So up to now you have created a menu bar, you have created a menu, you have added items, you have added a submenu. That is done. Now what you have done? You have to add the menu bar into the frame. So see, there is a method called set menu bar. So inside the frame, you are going to set a menu bar, and which is your menu bar object? MB. Okay, rest is just the same. So I hope that was a clear description about the above program. You have to do that. First you have to create a frame. You have to create a menu bar. Inside the menu bar you have to have a menu. Inside the menu you can have multiple items. All these are menu items, not the normal items. This will be menu items. You will have to create objects of menu item class. Then you have to create a submenu. Submenu will be inserted into the menu, and the submenu will again contain 2 or 3 or how many you wish to. You will have that much of sub items. Okay, so that is again part of the menu item class. So that was about menu bar. Next is about scroll bar. I think every person who have used a word processor will have seen a scroll option, which is available in the top right corner, available from the top right corner of your window. Okay, so it is used to scroll through the window, right? So if you want to use a scroll bar inside your application, you can use a scroll bar by creating an object of the scroll bar class. Okay, so let's see an example. So this is a scroll bar. As you can see, there is an option, there is a block which the user can move upwards or downwards. So here you are going to create a frame, then you are going to create a object of the scroll bar class. You are creating the boundary. Boundary is nothing but where to appear and how to appear. You can always see that whatever be the width and height, it will be appearing as vertical. Okay, so here you can see 50 is the length, and that is taken downwards, and 100 is the width. Okay, so that is taken as such. Then what you have to do, you have to add the scroll bar to the frame. Then as usual, you have to set the size of the frame and set the layout. Then it should be set to visible. So that is about the scroll bar. Okay, then here you are going to do this one. So look at this output window. Here you can see that you're going to change, or you're going to drag through the scroll bar, and whenever you make an adjustment in the scroll bar, you are going to say what is the pixel position or what is the XY position where the scroll bar currently, the cursor currently resides. Okay, so that is done using a listener. So here you can see this is an AWT scroll bar example with adjustment listener, because your whole purpose of the only purpose of using a scroll bar is that you have to adjust your scroll, right? Adjust your window. So for that, here you can see that the AWT, just like in the previous example, you are creating a frame, you are creating a final label, you are setting it to align to the center, then you are creating a scroll bar. Okay, the scroll bar is set to have a boundary, then you are adding the scroll bar to the frame and the label also to the frame. Then here you can see that you are associating an adjustment listener with the scroll bar, so that whenever the scroll bar is having a change, it will be noted by the adjustment listener, and the adjustment listener will be performing some action. So you can see the adjustment listener is accepting an adjustment listener object, and inside that you have a method called adjustment value changed, which means there is a change in the value, current value of the cursor position. So in that case, what you have to do, you have to set the text of the label that has been created here to say that vertical scroll bar value is, and you have a method called get value which is available in the scroll bar class. Okay, so the get value method will be returning the current position of the cursor, I mean the scroll bar cursor. Okay, so you will be retrieving that value and you will be appending that value to this string, and it will be set as the text of the label and displayed before the user. So whenever the user changes the scroll bar, this value keeps on updating because you have used an adjustment listener. Okay, so I hope that was clear. Next is about how to use a dialog. Okay, so as we have discussed before, it is just another window. Okay, so it is a top level window. It will have a border and a title, and it is normally used to take some form of input from the user, and it is going to inherit the window class. But the only difference between a frame and a dialog is that a dialog will only have a close button. It will not have maximize or minimize options. Okay, so frame and dialog both inherit the window class. Frame will be having maximize and minimize buttons, whereas a dialog will not be having that. So this is an example. Here you can see you are going to create a dialog. So you have a public class dialog example, and inside that you are creating a static member, a static private member which is of type dialog. Okay, so you are creating an object of the dialog class and making it a private static member. Okay, what do you mean by static? It means that you don't have to create an object to access that dialog. Okay, so here you can see you are creating a window inside the constructor, you are creating a frame, then inside that you are creating you have the dialog member. Here you are setting it to have a dialog example as the title. Then you are going to make this a part of the frame. It will appear over the frame, that is why F is given here. F is your frame object. Then dialog example will be the title that will be appearing on the dialog. Then it is set to true, which means you are going to make it visible. Okay, then you are going to have a layout. You are setting the layout to be of type a flow layout. Okay, then this is just like we have the set layout for a frame. Here you are setting it to have a flow layout frame. Okay, flow layout type. Then you have a button, and that button is having a label okay, and it is having a action to be performed. Action to be performed is that when the button is clicked, the dialog should disappear. Okay, when the button is clicked, the dialog should disappear. So here you have set the visibility as true, and you can see here that what is the action being done? You are setting the dialog as dialog example dot d, which means d is your dialog example is your constructor. So you are going to set the dialog examples dialog to be as false, that is it becomes invisible. Okay, then what is to be done next? You have to do that, you have to add a new label in the dialog. Okay, so you are adding a new label. What is the label? Click button to continue. You can even have a label here and set the text of the label as click button to continue, and you can just add d dot add of that label object. That is also possible. Here we are not creating any new label, but you are giving it as an object right inside the add method. That is done here. Okay, so you are creating a label and you are adding the label to the dialog. You are adding the button to the dialog. You are setting the size of your dialog. Then you are setting this dialog to be visible. Okay, so you can see here. So this is it. That you can see that there is a dialog, and the dialog is having a label which is click button to continue along with the button. So when the user press the button, what happens? The dialog becomes invisible. Okay, or the dialog goes off. So that is about dialog. Next is the last portion for this AWT, which is the mouse listener interface. So mouse listener or mouse is something which a user will be using most of the time when he's doing something on a computer, right? So here you have 5 methods which is available in the mouse listener interface. So they are, all of them are abstract methods. So first one is the mouse clicked method, then mouse entered method. Mouse clicked, as the name says, it will be notifying when the mouse is clicked. Mouse entered, which means the mouse entered a window. Mouse exited, it came out of the window. Mouse was pressed, the left button was pressed, and mouse released, the button was released. So these are the 5 main methods. Okay, so I'll show you an example. Just this program is doing nothing but setting an implementation for all these 5 methods. So you can see here, what is it? You have a class here and you are extending the frame and you are implementing mouse listener. So you are responsible for creating the implementation for all these. So you can see that mouse clicked. Here you can see what is to be done. You have a label and the label says mouse was clicked. Mouse entered, you are saying the label as mouse entered the frame. Mouse exited the frame. Then mouse was pressed, mouse was released. Okay, so that is all. All these has to be added as part of the constructor, and we have done that. So that's all about the mouse listener interface. So this will be an example. So when the cursor goes inside the frame, it will say mouse entered. When the cursor goes off, it has to say mouse exited. Okay. So next is about how to close. So you have a AWT window. If you want to dispose or if you want to close the window, then you can use these methods, which is either dispose or system.exit, and all these has to be used inside a window closing method. Okay, you have to use it inside a window closing method. Then window closing method is available inside the window listener interface, as well as it is also available in the window adapter class. Okay, the window adapter class is by default implementing the window listener interface. So it will be always available inside, all the methods available inside the window listener interface will be implemented in the window adapter class. So you can have two options. Either you can implement window listener interface directly, or you can have an extension of the window adapter class. Then so we have the window closing method inside the window adapter class. If you want to override, you can use your own implementation. To override the window closing method, you can use window adapter class or window listener interface. Okay, then you can have 3 methods by which you can close the window. You can use an anonymous class, which means you don't have to create your own class for closing the window. You can create a random object during the method call and close the window. That is by anonymous class. Or you can inherit from the window adapter class, or you can implement the window listener interface. So this is an example. This example is showing that you are registering with a window listener interface and you are calling the dispose method. So that is it. So you can see the window closing method is here, an implementation for the window closing method. Inside the window closing method, you are calling dispose. So what happens? This one will be disposed of. Okay. So that was the last topic for this day. So I hope things were clear. We have discussed about list. We have discussed about menu bar, then about scroll bars, then mouse listeners, then how to close a window, what is an adjustment listener and all. I hope things was clear. If there are any comments or suggestions, or if you have any doubts, please use my comment box. Thank you.